Some of the most popular characters around are villains. They're not confined by difficult abstract concepts like justice, morality, or even right and wrong, and so are free to have much wilder narratives. Whether they're showy, deranged, brutal, or all of the above, villains are very rarely boring. And every good hero needs a good villain, a strong nemesis for them to come up against, or a challenge to test them to their limits. Not only are the following villains evil and powerful foes for the heroes of Marvel, DC, and beyond, they're able to provide that matchup without any superpowers of their own. Some of them face off against heroes without powers too, like Batman, while others can go toe-to-toe with these superpowered good guys and still come out on the other side. So, in the spirit of championing the little evil guy, I'm Ewan, this is What Culture Comics, and here are the 10 best supervillains with no superpowers. Number 10, Mysterio. Mysterio's whole shtick is having no power, so it only seems fitting that he kicks off the list. With Jake Gyllenhaal winning praise for his Mysterio portrayal in the recent billion-dollar blockbuster Spider-Man Far From Home, the villain is also being introduced to new audiences. However, in the comic book world, the illusion-based ponytail-wearing charlatan has always been a fairly popular villain. Unlike the others here, it's not so much that he perseveres and thrives without powers either. It's more that he so desperately wants powers and manages to fool the world that he actually has them, at least most of the time. Still, that's a mightily impressive feat in and of itself. Despite his lack of powers, his illusions often put up quite the fight. He once pitted Spidey against robotic evil versions of the X-Men, and once drove Daredevil to the brink in Guardian Devil. Definitely not a foe to be messed with. Number 9, the Red Skull. Red Skull gets on the list because he's an appalling figure born from the real-life horror of Nazi Germany. True, much of the appeal behind seeing the villain appear stems from the fact we get to see Captain America punch him in the face again and again, but his presence serves as a valuable reminder of the fact that even comics have a hard time competing with history when it comes to depicting pure evil. Johann Schmidt is a Nazi with a horrifying visual motif, and if there's anything worse than a Nazi, well, it's one that's also really into theatrics. Over the course of his 75-odd-year history at Marvel, the Red Skull has had Captain America killed, cloned him goodness knows how many times, and done his best to carry on his own particular brand of fascism in the modern day. It's a terrifying threat, and again, that's why it's great to see Cap kick the crap out of him countless times over. Number 8, Vulture. The Vulture is fairly odd and frail, but thanks to his expertly engineered flight suit has enough strength to take on Spider-Man in a fistfight. As well as this, Vulture has gained the ability to fly realistically thanks to an anti-gravity harness and synthetic bird wings. The fact he can remain as airborne as the web-slinging, web-swinging Spider-Man adds another element to their often cinematic and high-octane battles. This extra element without the Vulture needing to have superpowers makes him such an interesting villain for Spidey to come up against. In some stories, prolonged use of the suit has given him increased strength and even the ability to hover, which you could argue counts as a superpower and therefore disqualifies him from the list. However, these aren't the stories you typically associate with the Vulture, and they're minor enough to keep him in the running. Number 7, Deathstroke. Hey, I know what you're thinking. Ewan, Deathstroke does have superpowers. He's a super soldier. But aha, therein lies the rub. Slade Wilson is just a man like any other, and all the experiment does to him is enhance his body to its very limits. Technically, he's just a very, very good human, or bad human, given what he gets up to. Either way, there's a reason why Slade Wilson is considered such a worthy adversary. He's outthought and outfought the competition several times over, whether that be fooling Superman in his most recent series, or fighting Batman to a standstill in the aptly titled Deathstroke vs. Batman from the other year. Let's not forget that Slade Wilson is a nasty piece of work too. The man is ruthless when it comes to getting the upper hand over his opponents, as he's illustrated in seriously yucky fashion in Teen Titans The Judas Contract and repeated other examples over the years. In the end though, Slade's a prize fighter, a strong combatant, and well deserving of his own nickname, the Terminator. Number 6, Doc Ock. Doc Ock's trademark octopus arms make for some absolutely brutal encounters and have been utilized brilliantly in many stories over the years. Once your typical off-his-rocker mad scientist, since the turn of the century, he's become a bit more of a sympathetic character. These days, he's more of a good man corrupted by his own power, or in some stories after accidentally killing his wife and / becoming one with his mechanical tentacles. Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2 was the first real instance of the character's new, more honorable origins being explored, and though comics have covered it since then, the PS4 exclusive Spider-Man video game might just have done it best. Doc Ock is so important because of Peter's famous "with great power must also come great responsibility" line. He's the man Peter might have become without that responsibility. The Superior Spider-Man, wherein Octavius took over Peter's body, proved massively popular too, allowing us to explore another aspect of this complex villain. It's such a fun idea, and Doc Ock is the perfect one to carry it out. Number 5, the Riddler. Riddler is an utterly diabolical villain, one as deranged as he is brilliant. Powers wouldn't help him much anyway, as he's mainly a master of mind games. The fact he's such a grounded villain makes him so terrifying too, as there's no separation from reality there. Instead, it isn't too hard to imagine Riddler's sick and twisted schemes happening in real life, and his stories often creep up your spine. Edward Nygma typically employs word games, puzzles, and traps into his villainy, all with a lethal bent. He usually gloats a lot too, keen on proving his intellectual superiority over Batman or anybody else who crosses his path. Plus, he has a giant floating hand thing. Whoa, look at it go. Depending on the storyline, sometimes Riddler will be a genuine mastermind with complex and subtle riddles which must be carefully and methodically uncoiled. At others, they're little more than goofy puns, there to make his claims of superiority laughably off base. He's a fascinating character either way though, as he's so flamboyant and ostentatious that when his tricks go wrong, his reactions are wonderfully cathartic. Number 4, Shredder. The Turtles are hardly an unknown indie publication, but any discussion on comics tends to revolve entirely around the big two. Here though, Shredder is simply too good to ignore. His spiky design with weaponized claws on his hands, arms, legs, shoulders, and head inspires fear on sight, as well as the fact he's skilled enough at martial arts to take on all 4 turtles at once. Funnily enough, TMNT co-creator Kevin Eastman got the idea for the character by looking at a selection of cheese graters, and very nearly called him the Grater, or Great Man. As the leader of the villainous Foot clan of ninjas, Shredder is involved in just about any criminal enterprise you can think of, battling the Turtles all the way. Though he'd always been a force to be reckoned with in the comics, it was the animated show where the Shredder truly rose to the rank of central nemesis. This was the show that firmly embedded the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the cultural zeitgeist of the 1980s, and Shredder was right there with them. Number 3, Kingpin. Hugely physically imposing without any discernible powers, Kingpin has taken on many of Marvel's best heroes in his time, and with his third place finish here stands as Marvel's best supervillain without superpowers. 2 DC heavyweights take the positions ahead of him, but third place is nothing to be sniffed at. Kingpin is such a grounded villain as the head of one of the most powerful crime syndicates around. Already armed with an imposing frame and immense strength, Fisk is also typically equipped with Kevlar under his suit and a diamond-tipped cane to help him in battle. Usually taking on Spidey, Daredevil, or the Punisher, he's got what it takes. Powers be damned. His strength is so impressive he can hurl full-grown men across the room, crush skulls, and rip arms out of people's sockets Chewbacca style. Lack of powers aside, Kingpin is not a villain to be messed with, and the second best bald-headed antagonist in the comics biz. Number 2, Lex Luthor. Considering Superman is one of the most powerful characters of all time, it's mightily impressive that anyone can put up a fight against him for long enough to become his nemesis. For it to be someone without any powers at all, it's absolutely outstanding. Lex Luthor might not have any superpowers to speak of, but he's certainly no ordinary man either. A genius-level intellect is so common in comic books that it barely seems impressive anymore, but Luthor takes it to the next level. His technological prowess and engineering ability allowed him to craft his war suit to the level the playing field with Superman, though this is still standard super smart supervillain stuff. What really elevates Luthor is his Machiavellian brilliance. Luthor has built up an image for himself as a philanthropist and industrialist, protecting him from the nefarious reputation most supervillains have. His charm and charisma is even enough to carry him to the White House, offering him even more power and influence as the most powerful man on the planet. When most of Superman's villains just devolve into a schlocky fistfight, Luthor forces him to think. He can't just punch his way through, and so it keeps his skill set in check. Number 1, Joker. Batman easily has the best rogues gallery going, and the Joker is the pick of the lot. His schemes are so twisted and nihilistic, his design so terrifyingly bizarre, his very name even inspires fear. Villains are always at their best on a human level. Joker is so deranged, unpredictable, and lacks any motivation that you genuinely never know what he's going to do next. Powers wouldn't improve him, he's already perfect. Set against Batman's dark and mirthless gothic noir, Joker is an explosion of colour and mania. The polar opposite in almost every way imaginable, the pair form the most iconic hero and villain dynamic of any in comics history. And that was our list. What's your favourite supervillain without any powers? Let us know in the comments below, and please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't done so already, as it really helps us out. Catch more articles like this on whatculture.com/comics, more of me on Twitter at @EwanRuinsThings, and more of the stories featured in here at your local comic book store. Until next time though, bye!
Hello YouTube, we're turning things up to 11 with the launch of What Culture Music.
It's our brand new channel featuring all those lists you just can't get enough of, including creepy hidden messages in your favourite pop songs,
as well as radio-friendly songs that detail literal murder. That's as well as Chatty Faces, where we get personal with you on our sordid musical tastes, in-depth discussion podcasts, and we're even doing quality fun stuff like tournaments and quizzes too.
There's going to be something for everybody, so come on over and make some sweet sweet music with us.
Or just watch the videos, that works too.
Like, share, and subscribe at the link below, and we will see you there.
Bye.